What have Johann Sebastian Bach, Dmitri Shostakovich, Richard David James, who is known as Aphex Twin, got in common with the Ukrainian band DZ'OB? The answer is simple: IDM, or intelligent dance music. Meet DZ'OB, an electroacoustic project from the city of Dnipro, in today's episode of PROArt. Don't miss this exciting event.
DZ'OB — это клюв. По-русски. DZ'OB — это как у нас такая легенда.
DZ'OB is translated from Ukrainian as beak. Birds use their beaks as a compass that helps give them a sense of direction when in flight for a long time. The name is Oman was the widely known phrase of the unforgettable Captain Wrangel. These ambitious musicians from Dnipro probably watched that famous Soviet cartoon series by director Dmitri Shostakovich, and it dawned on them to give their band that symbolic and meaningful name. That is, we consider ourselves to be a kind of reference point. In any case, we believe in it. Our format is modern dance music. We play IDM, intelligent dance music, and we add a bit of other music. DZ'OB is a unique band that performs dance music on acoustic instruments. This musical project synthesizes various genres, using new sound and visual art, blurring the line between eras, traditions and technologies. This band of experimenters creates and expands its niche in art, combining the drive and energy of electronic music with unorthodox academic ideas. All of us are from Dnipro. We started with Maxim Andruch. The idea of setting up a band appeared a long time ago. In 2014 we got together and started doing some plays. It was our thinking of Aphex Twin, and this later transformed itself into our own music. We also plan to collaborate with modern academic composers. We try to entice them so that they learn to think through electronics and compose music for acoustic instruments. DZ'OB has officially existed since 2014, but the idea of creating it ripened forward 10 years ago. Conservatory graduate and educated physicist Alexei Badin and Maxim Andruch began to bring together an unorthodox group of musicians. Love of music and the desire to create original art united them. Maxim Andruch, who's responsible for the electronic part, and I started experimenting. Me as a graduate of the conservatory and a technician. This symbiosis was reborn into what DZ'OB is right now. We mingle in music circles all the time, and that's how we met. Having music as a common interest, our colleagues mainly write or remake music, and we make changes as instrumentalists and performers. That's how we create our music. Starting with the reinterpretation of the Aphex Twin and Square Pusher tracks, the band released 2 mini-albums with music penned by them, the eponymous DZ'OB in 2016 and Basement Suite in 2017. Our achievements are modest because it's a time-consuming process. It takes a great deal of time and gives few references. It's very difficult to combine electronics with acoustic instruments, and we finally get to a ready sound through trial and error. Musicians with a conservatory education carry out experiments and compose innovative works no worse than rock musicians. The band's tidbit is an unusual synthesis of refined classics, dubstep, techno, unexpected tonalities, and unusual techniques. Ukraine, just like the world, has not seen such music yet, say the musicians. The band consists of the winds, oboe, clarinet, bassoon, and the strings, violin, viola, cello. Our sound engineer Maxim writes the adaptation. All of this includes an electronic component and a component of classical instruments. That's how we get this synthesis.
I don't
regard these instruments as outdated. They are very flexible and interesting, and the fact that they are rarely used in modern music turned this into an interesting experiment. And by using electronic music, we try to imitate live instruments. This gives an interesting interlacing and fusion of academic instruments and electronics.
Слияние академических инструментов и электроники.
So the band plays electronic dance music involving drive, dashing rhythms, and bats. But in 2016, the musicians decided to start with Dmitri Shostakovich's works. It was a daring choice. Was he a creator who was close in spirit, or just a shock effect to attract the general public? We all love his works. We consider him one of the most interesting. There were many brilliant composers in the 20th century, but we chose Shostakovich. And why not, we said to ourselves. And that's how it happened. And we could select worthy and interesting examples such as Shostakovich, Aphex Twin, Square Pusher. Johann Sebastian Bach's musical style, entitled WTC, Well-Tempered Clavier, had a great influence on all musicians and future composers. Dmitri Shostakovich, who started as a pianist, composed his cycle as 24 miniatures, just like the famous German composer had, but he filled his preludes and fugues with an unusually relevant sound. It was an avant-garde act and even one of hooliganism in those days. Our task was not to shock the public. Shostakovich also liked to include funny motives and dance music in his works. Why not? He was a BTS, but from academic music. But we decided to go further. There is interest and some kind of development. DZ'OB musicians risk repeating this experiment in the 21st century, so Sir Richard James released one of the most significant albums in the history of electronic music, and Maestro Dmitri Shostakovich with avant-garde miniatures a la Bach all met in arrangements. He was an innovator too, and his music seemed close to us. The band's press release called it Shostakovich's Preludes. Dance music. Some spectators were surprised that they could dance to philosophically focused music by a Soviet composer. It was probably a special move by the young performers to transform electronics into acoustics and vice versa. Easy! Dancing is even required, because we call our style electroacoustic IDM. And we follow our main idea that many academic composers have now moved away from an actual musical culture. For example, such popular folk dances as the jig, saraband, were not a sample of some high style in Bach's day, but he could lift these rather primitive dances to a new level. Today, many composers ignore modern music, and we use modern dances, techno, dubstep, drum and bass. And why can't an acoustic band play this music? It sounds very organic. So it's much more pleasant for us to appear when the public supports us with movement. When the audience is seated, we select another set list. We prefer to show more classical and free-to-understand sets. We don't focus on beat, but it is still there in almost all our works. At the Bouquet Kyiv Stage Festival, DZ'OB presented works by Shostakovich alongside compositions by the contemporary young composer Anton Baibakov, as well as tracks from the group's latest album, which is called Basement Suite. In addition to the original arrangements, the musicians used a video projection, especially created by Dnipro-based animation artist Mikita Lyskov. The animated watercolor clips looked especially impressive at the St. Sophia Cathedral in Kyiv. DZ'OB, despite its numerous staff, always seeks to play at festivals around the country. The musicians can enjoy fresh impressions, feedback from the audience, and try out their bold experimental finds. This gives very interesting results. We stage concerts in nightclubs as well as at philharmonic societies. It's interesting to observe the reaction of the audience there. We had such fears about the philharmonic public, but we get more people at the philharmonic than in nightclubs. Of course, these are different concerts. It all depends on the audience and acoustics. The release of DZ'OB's Basement Suite was recognized as the best mini-album of 2017. According to 3 leading Ukrainian music publications, Sergei Belakon, the youngest musician in DZ'OB, is certain that to experiment, find something new, and make discoveries, one needs not only the talent of a creator, but also human qualities. I think that the artist should perceive the world and rethink it through oneself, to enable another person to accept this image and to also rethink it in a personal way. This electroacoustic project by Ukrainian musicians is also gaining popularity beyond Ukraine. Their composition Techno 2 from the album Basement Suite got on the prestigious tracklist of the annual English collection Cage 25. It only remains for us to be glad that, judging by the ratings of professionals and public ovation, the DZ'OB band from Dnipro successfully embodies its idea of creating a suite of our time in new Ukrainian music.